Hey everybody, bonsoir. Good evening. I guess I should say buenas noches since we are being so inclusive and we're talking Bad Bunny tonight. So it's February 15th, day after Valentine's Day. Hope you all had a wonderful, wonderful, loving Valentine's Day. And yes, Hubert, even though I told him to go to his bed, he was using the moment as I was starting the show to be a little stinker and come up on the couch, which is fine, whatever. But so yeah, tonight I want to give a little Harvey news update, and then we're going to talk about more about the Super Bowl show that I'm so obsessed with and Bad Bunny, and how we're going to talk about how dance can play a part in our activism. And there's a lady's video that we're going to be sharing that she made a great video. So not mine. I can't claim credit, but she actually does all this dance and choreography and stuff for big celebrities. So let us start though by introducing my guest, mon invité. This is Kevin. He is from Ontario, and he, bless his heart, because I love my French speakers. They'll always be near and dear to my heart. I get so emotional. So speaking about underrepresented and at-risk minorities, French speakers in Canada, but especially in Ontario, have a similar experience as I'm sure a lot of Puerto Ricans feel. But yeah, Kevin agreed to join us tonight. So yeah, do you want to just tell everybody who you are and what your what brings you to us tonight?
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah. So, as you mentioned, I'm from a French-speaking minority in Ontario, and yeah, there is a bit of that, worry about extinction, or more, I should say, assimilation. In the case of Ontario, it's mostly because I'm from a French-speaking community, but we're surrounded by English media and culture and all of that. So it's a bit of a struggle to keep our institutions open to, have our language survive. Whereas, but what differs from what I noticed with Puerto Ricans is the fact that there's a lot of gentrification going in, and it's a lot of outsiders kind of taking up their spaces. Whereas in Ontario, it's more like us who are becoming Anglos, assimilated. So that's the main difference I see. But there is a bit of that same cultural worry that I'm just kind of learning about these days.
Yeah, I was gonna say, now compared to what a lot of Puerto Ricans or Hawaiians, or I was gonna say, really this applies to so many people, because even in Harvey here, it's not even a language thing, but it's just, we literally have outsiders. Like, our politicians are bringing outsiders in to push people out of their homes and, buy up properties, and it's all about denying access to locals. It's not even necessarily a linguistic thing here, but it's just, so that's why I think these themes everybody can relate to, even if it's not, necessarily linguistic. But do you feel that people are fighting back and don't want to lose their language and culture and their local influence, in at least in your area? Or do you feel that it's just they're just people are just letting it happen? It seems like in Puerto Rico, there's they're really they're keeping the dances, the language, the different cultural aspects going as best they can.
Sadly, I don't see that. In my culture, I'll give you an example. I went to from kindergarten up until grade 12. I went to a French school, so all of our instructions are in French and all that. Um, but all the students talk to each other in English. It's kind of to me, it was more like a rebellious, cool thing, because we have to get in with the mainstream culture, and it was more of that. So it's just kind of I guess, letting it happen. And it's just weird because like I meet so many people, and the thing with Ontario too is that because we're a linguistic minority, we don't often know if we see a stranger, we talk to them in English. If we know that they speak French and they're from our same culture, we won't suddenly, it's kind of awkward to suddenly do that switch. So we just kind of keep with that language. So it's a bit of it's an awkward thing where it's like, okay, we understand each other's culture and all that, but we just don't feel like speaking our native language.
Okay. Right. No, I feel you. So it sounds like, unfortunately, maybe it is a little bit too accommodationist, maybe compared to, at least compared to what that Bad Bunny was portraying with the Puerto Ricans, you know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing I really appreciated about his show is that, well, there's a lot of like the subtext, which because I don't speak Spanish and I don't fully understood the concept of what's happening in Puerto Rico up until recently, but to me, it was just showing off how beautiful their culture is, and that I found truly inspiring. Not that like I don't know how to explain it, but like there's the fact that he didn't do a show in English. He didn't kind of conform to what people are expecting of him. He just kind of did his own thing, and people appreciated that. Whereas for me, like we have our own French pop culture, and it will have its niche audience, and sometimes there will be a bit of crossovers. But I don't know. And teachers would go kind of out of their way to kind of promote that, and kind of hide like the anglophone pop culture, I guess. I don't know what I'm saying now, but
but I'm impressed at least though that your teachers were, at least people were trying, because that is, even that shows at least people people cared. You know, they were making some sort of effort. Is it easier though? Like if you're in Quebec, do you think they're doing a better job?
Oh, for sure. Because the thing, what's different between Ontario and Quebec, and like our cultures are very, very similar. In Quebec, they're very like they have laws in place to prevent that. They have the French language is very much regulated, and sometimes I feel personally it goes too far. But often people in Quebec say it doesn't go far enough. So like over there, they're like all the businesses, they're regulated on what words to display, what language to speak. Well, obviously it's French. Like if it's a certain size, they have to speak French, which is not always a bad thing. It's a bit of an impediment to business, in my opinion. But also, there's regulations of who can attend English schools. Like new immigrants, for example, from my understanding, they don't have the right to go to an English-speaking school. They have to learn French and assimilate to that. Whereas, like a French student can't necessarily go to an English school, and that's the thing too. Like in Ontario, we have 4 different types of schools. So depending on if you're going to public, Catholic, English, French. So I felt like I had that choice. But anyways, sorry, I lost track of what I was saying. Oh yeah, but so that's kind of how it is in Quebec. And then recently they decided that doctors speaking to patients must speak in French, even though that's more of that impedes doctor-patient relationship. So I have So I don't know if it went through, but because the thing about Quebec too is that it's a very diverse place, especially Montreal. You have people speaking all sorts of, like, all different languages. So, like, English, French, Italian, especially Greek, Yiddish, Chinese. Like, it's a diverse.
Because the doctor can't speak to them in any language besides French?
Sorry, repeat that?
So were you saying this law says the doctor cannot use other languages with the patient other than French?
That's my understanding of it. I may be wrong, because this is just news I hear, like, passively. So,
we'll have to look into that. You know, I love looking into stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I love, you know, but and for those of you who are just tuning in, now historically, you know, the British took over Quebec and New France, Nouvelle-France, as it had already been a French territory. Now we're not even talking about the natives, okay, and how they have the autochtones, you know, as they call them. They obviously have their own story of repression and everything. Although I do think the French were better at respecting local cultures than the British in general, you know, still that's still an issue to this day, you know, integrating the different native cultures as well. But if you're wondering, you're like, why would people have such strange laws like that? So they made the language laws and everything because people felt that they were basically like a persecuted majority. So it was this really weird thing where if you were English speaking and you were associated with the rich capitalists in, you know, in Canada, that, you know, they held the power. It was a symbol. The language was used as a symbol of power, money, control. We have control. And so then in places, especially like Quebec, where the majority of the population was Catholic, and then they spoke French and not English, and, you know, they had these different differences. That's, you know, my understanding, that's why Quebec is so aggressive with the French, because they at some point in the 70s, they got tired. They said, hey, we're tired of being the persecuted majority. So it was kind of an interesting situation there. But anyway, I don't want to keep you forever. We can always have you back on. I wanted to just share a quick update of news as far as, you guys know, I covered that fire last night, which was horrible. Another horrible Harvey fire. And then we were able to rescue a doggy. So that's a good thing. Positive. I just wanted to share a little video about that. Now, the negative thing is that, you know, thank God we do what we do, you know, the volunteers. But the city of Harvey is not doing its job. We do not have, not only do we only have a few, I'm told, you know, the most we have are 4 firefighters on duty per shift, and at the most 4 officers, excuse me, on patrol at any one time, you know, per shift. That is not acceptable. And of course, at the same time, we have our politicians, and they're highly paid cronies who do nothing, making a ton of money. So, so we did save this dog, but let me find the video here. I just wanted to share this with you. Okay. Everybody, it's Ryan. This is the puppy from last night. I just want to let you know. Here she is. Say hi. Oh, yeah. So she was safe and secure last night, and Miss Cindy and her sister, they're here. They're some of our wonderful helpers. So let us know. Can you tell us, Cindy? So what do you and the volunteers do since Harvey refuses to hire animal control? What do you have to do?
Well, we have to try to call Cook County or another organization to try to find shelter for the animals we pick up.
Okay. Yeah, and do you ever get any help from Harvey or from any other you know, the public institutions?
County's been helpful for the most part when they have space. Anti-cruelty has helped. Outside of that, not really.
Not really. Okay. So we'll keep you guys posted on that. But I just wanted to give you a quick update, and then just to pause that. Oops, whoa, what happened? What happened? So for most towns, they'll have their own animal control officers, to handle strays and just any issues with the animals. And or they'll use help from the county or whatever county it is. So Cook County, they do help sometimes. I don't think that they really help like they should. And in cases like ours, where we just have extremely corrupt, unaccountable local officials who don't care that they're taking all the money for themselves and not providing adequate services, it just, like we had that one lady who was mauled last year and she ended up losing her foot. And it's just like horrible things that, it's just not necessary. Like, you just hire animal control. So just to give you sort of a background, as far as that's what should happen. We should have our own animal control. And then if they take in strays, then they have these different shelters that they can take them to. That's what should be happening. Oops, now I gotta zoom into where
Okay, hey everybody.
Trans people are.
Oh, right.
Okay, hey everybody.
How do I find? Oh, Lordy B. Facebook.
Trans people are.
You're making this too complicated.
I know some of you are asking about the puppy. So she's okay for now, and she's very docile. So
Trans people are just pretending to be.
Oh my God.
hopefully she should be able to be adopted. She was very well behaved. We didn't have any problems with her. So but thank you guys again for your support. We got to keep the pressure on the politicians, but also, as Cindy does all the time, she's one of those unsung heroes. We have to do this stuff ourselves. Again, I'm not paid for this. Cindy's not paid for this. None of these volunteers are, but we want our communities to be better. So, it's all right. See you guys.
Okay, hey everybody.
So yeah, I just wanted to give that little update on the puppers.
It's Ryan.
And like I said, we shouldn't have to be doing those things. That's why we pay taxes. That was on the Historical Society webpage. I shared it to a few of the pages, the Harvey pages. But, so we should not have to be doing those things. But, we do what we do to try to keep our communities going. So, alas. So hopefully, Kevin, you guys don't have those problems with that extreme corruption. I'm sure there are somewhere in Ontario or somewhere near you, but they always, the better communities, as I've been reporting on this the past few years, public corruption, the better communities, there's always corruption. The better ones just hide it more. They try to not show the most egregious, visible signs.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I'm not involved in politics like you are, especially at the local level, but I see it all the time. My eyes are always open, and not that I'm indifferent to it, but to me, it's just like, I'll voice my opinion against it, but at the end of the day, I don't know. I vote with, at the ballot box and with my money sometimes, but that's how it is.
Right. Maybe we can convince you too to get involved, join some sort of local council. That's always my crusade, trying to tell people. All right, so then we're going to start this video tonight. We're talking about Bad Bunny and the symbolism and how it can help our activism efforts wherever we live. So this lady put together a fantastic video talking about the dancing. So let's check this out.
Anybody break down the dance? Like, do you even know what styles of dance you was watching? What they mean culturally, politically, historically?
I just want to give her credit. The creator. I put her information in the about, in the video. But her name is Melany Centeno, and so if you want to subscribe to her channel, I put all the information in the about.
Historically, did you know that the choreography team had 6 people? Yes, 6. If not, it's all good. I got you. Let's start with the choreographers, starting with the lead choreographer, Charm LaDonna from Compton, California. Charm has been in the industry a long time. As a matter of fact, she was 10 years old when Fatima Robinson first booked her in Mason Harlem World's I Like It music video, later becoming her mentor.
Oh, wow.
Since then, she's built an award-winning career with 2 MTV VMAs for Best Choreography.
I like this stuff too, by the way. Not that I am not an expert in like trap, rap, all these dance videos, the dance styles. I don't pretend to be an expert, but I really do like when we get to hear like who are the people that actually make this stuff happen, because too often our culture is huge on celebrating the great man. There's always some great man or woman, and I love finding out about these behind the scenes people.
Ligas con Altura and Dua Lipa's Houdini. And she also earned 2 Emmy nominations for Outstanding Choreography for Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show and Beyonce Bowl. What I really love about Charm is how she builds movement in vignettes. She's incredible at layering cinematic moments where everything has intention, nuance, and attitude. You can see Charm all over this performance, especially in moments like this. The head, the attitude, the framing, that has Charm written all over it. Her ability to stage movement that feels cinematic, layered, and reflective of how complex culture is her superpower. Now let's talk about the other lead choreographer, Karina Ortiz. Karina Ortiz is from Bayamón, Puerto Rico. She's been Bad Bunny's longtime choreographer since El Último Tour del Mundo, his residency No Me Quiero Ir de Aquí, and she's now with Debí Tirar Más Fotos World Tour. I think it's really important that she was part of this choreography team. So often when a choreographer gets a moment this big, they'll pull from a culture instead of going to the source. Charm working alongside a Puerto Rican choreographer from PR speaks to her integrity. Having Karina there guarantees cultural authenticity because these dances and this movement live in her body through her lived experience, in her home, in her streets, in her
Oh my God, wait, is that one of his videos? Probably. I'm like, now I do have to say, I was asking I've been trying to get everybody's opinion this past week of the show, mentioning it in all my conversations because the symbolism was moving to me. But I did have just a few people so far say like, oh, I don't like it because he's too sexual or something. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. I mean, I guess I understand, but
well, the thing about like in my experience, because I've been to the Dominican Republic and I've stayed with families there, and it's like they're literally a neighbor of Puerto Rico, and they're always listening to each other's music. But dancing, it's like in their blood. It's what they do. It's all the kids, especially the girls. Like they had rolling blackouts all the time, but I distinctly remember this. When the electricity came back on, they all cheered. They turned on their computer, they blasted their reggaeton, and they were showing off their dance moves. And that's the first time I've seen like people twerking, and they were like from all age ranges. So yeah, I guess like if you look at it, it could be sexual, but often like that's just what they've been doing their entire lives. It's like literally like I don't know, shaking what they have or showing off what they can do. So if you look at it, I don't know, if you look at it that way, it's more of a bit of a show off thing to me.
Yeah, not necessarily a sexual thing. Also, I just thought it was interesting because hearing that, like I know this one guy, I think he's Mexican, that he told, I was asking him tonight. I'm like, hey, we're gonna talk about Bad Bunny again. What did you think about the show? And he's like, oh, that's not my style of music. I like what's the Korean one? K-pop. He's like, no, I'm really into K-pop, and I have crushes on Asian guys right now. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I thought it was interesting, as a Spanish speaker, that he was like, oh yeah, Bad Bunny's too like vulgar for me or something. And I'm like, because to me, I don't know, I just feel like so many of the performers nowadays, there's at least as far as the sex goes. I'm not talking about like violence, because I don't think his stuff is violent, but I feel like that's like all over the place, I'm like, I don't think he's used for that.
Well, I remember in the early 2000s, like Christina Aguilera was very considered sexual. So, and there's a conversation, I feel, between like, sure, there's empowerment versus exploitation, and of course we can talk about that, but I mean, like you said, it's kind of always existed. Whether that's a bad thing or not, I guess it's subjective.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's people's preferences, but
yeah,
I don't know. I kind of like to. Yeah, sorry.
No. Go ahead. Finish. What were you saying?
No, just saying it's like at the end of the day, people have their preferences, but at the same time, like, I don't know, people want to show off, like, what they want to express themselves. That's what I was saying.
Right. It's more just about expression, you think, than being overly sexual. And I mean, I know what they mean, because I was watching, there's this Tiny Desk, I forget what it's like. It's an NPR show, Tiny Desk, and I didn't even know about it, but I guess they have these people in DC come and perform or whatever, and it is like a tiny desk in a tiny room. And so Bad Bunny was there, and they had they had some translations on, some subtitles. And I remember one of the songs I was listening, because yeah, I'm not a native Spanish speaker. I can understand some, not everything. But one of them, they did have the translation, in English, and so he was singing whatever it was like a normal song. But then I was like, oh, because it was like, girl, you better get on all fours, because I'm about to, like, nail it hard or something. And I was like, oh, but I think there's something about when he says it. I don't know. I don't know.
The other thing I just came to mind, that it's a little out of the blue, but it depends on what culture you talk about too, because some have more tolerance for like what people express. And I just want to bring back to, there was a singer called Merci in Quebec in the late 80s, early 90s. And what's interesting is that, so back in the day, Canada's version of Much Music, it was, MTV. It was called Much Music in English, Music Plus in French. And Merci had this one video on both channels, but the English version of the channel, it got banned because it was too sexualized. But the French one was completely fine, because they both channels had their own community standards. So it was a little too much for the English viewers, but it was totally okay for the French viewers.
Yeah, that's funny. That's hilarious. And maybe that is part of it too, right? Absolutely, Well, but then the other thing was that with this halftime show, and I don't forget, someone was sharing the lyrics of one of the songs that the alternative halftime show that Kid Rock did, and the lyric appears to be talking about having sex with underage girls. And so I was like, now wait a minute, you guys, this is obviously selective outrage, because why would someone be and this is what I'm talking about, people that were making political points about it, to say like, oh, he shouldn't be performing because this is vulgar, because we know it's not really what the issue is about. When it's like, well, but then Kid Rock can sing about having sex with an underage girl, and you're fine with it. So yeah, it's interesting how those things get politicized. And there was something else I was going to say too, and I forgot, but it'll come back to me. It'll come back to me.
Community, and you could feel that grounding all over this performance. Karina's power is in her love for her culture and her commitment to making sure that what is presented is authentically Boricua. The first associate choreographer I want to mention is my boy, Giovanni Soto. Giovanni is from Boston, Massachusetts. He's trained out the ass. I am talking classically. He's also half Puerto Rican and half Dominican. First of all, moment well deserved. He's been in the industry for a long time, and he's a real powerhouse. I see Giovanni as an important bridge on this team between the industry here in the States and La Cultura Caribeña. He's danced for everybody and their moms, including Karol G, Becky G, Usher, with her, Shakira, Rosalia, and he's also been on stage with Beyonce for Beyonce Bowl. He's worked closely with Charm, and he shares...
I think I found his profile on Instagram. I'm pretty sure that was him. Anyway.
Cultural language with Karina. Him being a part of this team just makes sense. Next up, we have Melany Mercedes. She's a Bronx-born Dominican girl from the New York salsa and mambo scene. Not just some dancer on a resume. She's been a teacher and a choreographer in that scene for many, many years. She's trained, performed, and taught in over 45 countries and was the first salsera to reach top 10.
I was just gonna say that. I was just gonna say, oh, she was teaching us how to move our shoulders. I really, if nothing else, I was like, you know what? I should just get into the dancing, not only for the cultural aspects, but like, it reminded me of when I went to, was it this past summer? But anyway, my neighbors just a few houses over, you know, they're Mexican and they're very sweet. And so they'll invite me occasionally. It was a birthday. So I went and it's so nice and it's so different because see, my family, at least like my Polish side, we used to do those things. Well, I shouldn't say we, when my mother was younger, they used to do those things where they would have like, you know, they'd have accordions and they'd have, you know, they had the old Polish people like actually playing instruments and they'd have people dancing like a live band. Well, I mean, now we've become so bland and Americanized, you know, it's like a birthday party. It's like, okay, you're lucky if you can get people together in the first place, you know, maybe you have a birthday cake, you sing happy birthday, but like, that's about it. But it was so nice because we're out sitting in their yard and they had a little, just a small, but still a little live, you know, live singing and nothing fancy, but it's just like every little party or something, like they always had that. And then they were dancing and I started dancing too. And I'm not even one that really, I don't dance a lot, but you know what I mean? It really is social. And I'm like, this is good for me. I should learn how to salsa or something.
So I have a bit of a story with that. Pertaining to my, so like I said, I'm like in the French Canadian culture, but I'm also part Acadian, which is the French culture on the east coast of Canada. Oh. And when I got married, we just had a small ceremony at my parents' cottage, and then we had a kitchen party. So if you don't know what that is, it's you see that especially on the east coast of Canada. It's when people party literally in their kitchens around the table, and sometimes they'll push furniture out to make it a dance floor. And so that's what we ended up doing. It was just like in our little little cottage that my parents have, and we took out spoons as instruments. So I don't know if you've ever seen this, but you can take spoons and then you just you hold it a certain way and you can clap them together. And there's even instruments that's made for that. It's like wood carved out into two spoons that you just kind of clap together.
Oh,
so
yeah, this really relates because I've seen bands from New Orleans that again will probably be linked to that, but they have the washboard, the Zydeco.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen that?
Oh yes. That's a thing in Acadian culture too. Unfortunately, we don't have a washboard. I've never used that, but I've definitely seen that too. Yeah. But yeah, we're just playing music and dancing with spoons around. And then my husband, who's not from that culture, he was all amazed at it, and his friend too, who's from British Columbia, he was just amazed at seeing, I don't know, kind of like this different minority culture within this country. So anyways, yeah, we had lots of fun, and to me, it was the best day of my life. It's exactly what I wanted, to get in touch with my culture and have my entire family have fun like that.
That is so beautiful. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes. No, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So beautiful. I love all the stories.
So You Think You Can Dance. And she was a principal dancer in the film adaptation of In the Heights. She now lives in LA, bringing salsa on two to a West Coast scene that's largely dominated by salsa on one. And New York Mambo on two has direct ties to the Puerto Rican diaspora. So having her on the team means that they brought in someone who comes from the place that Bad Bunny was singing about, Nueva York. Next is Kiani del Valle. Kiani is Puerto Rican born, Berlin, LA, and New York based, and is a multidisciplinary dancer, choreographer, director, and performance curator. She was a stunt choreographer behind the aerial work on the electric poles. Her work blends contemporary dance, performance art, visual art, film, and conceptual embodiment. It goes beyond choreography into something more expansive. And we saw that embodied in the movement on the electric poles, body suspended in tension, the way that Puerto Ricans have had to hold on through instability, neglect, and survival. And last but certainly not least, Valerie Lemus. Valerie is Mexican and Salvadoran, born and raised in Los Angeles, and she was the assistant choreographer on the job. She started training at Millennium Dance Complex in 1999, back when we still called it the Dome. She signed in 2007 and has been touring and working with artists like Tyga, Nelly, The Game, Pretty Ricky, Moneybagg Yo, and more. Her relationship with Charm goes back 2 decades plus, and she's worked with Bad Bunny not 1, not 2, but 3 times. In 2020 for a Cheetos commercial, to his 2023 Grammy performance, and also a music video, all leading up to this Super Bowl moment. With hundreds of dancers and a production at the scale, as an assistant choreographer, she likely carried a massive amount of logistics, music coordination, spacing, transitions, day-to-day problem solving, the stuff that keeps something this big running smoothly. She was likely the go-to, the glue. This is not a small job. It's a heavy load to carry. And with her level of experience, she was a serious asset to this team. Now let's talk about the dance. The first dance style that we see after Bad Bunny sets the tone for Puerto Rican and Caribbean culture is perreo-inspired choreography with some elements of hip-hop and heels dance. Perreo is the dance of reggaeton, but it's not just shaking ass. Historically, what we now call perreo music comes out of sandungueo, pioneered by people like DJ Blas and Tego Calderon in the 90s and the early 2000s. This music and movement came out of very Black, low-income neighborhoods, especially the caseríos, aka the projects in Puerto Rico. My homegirl La Gata breaks this down real clear. Sandungueo is about a groove, a weight, a sensuality. Over time, perreo became its own thing, a genre and a culture tied to a specific BPM, a feeling, and an intention. Follow her and take her Perreo 101 classes for the deep dive. The name Perreo leans into the doggy style position of the dance. Perreo pulls straight from the African.
That's what I was wondering. Okay, because I was like, isn't perro is like dog? So okay, yep.
Diaspora. Hip undulation, pelvic isolation, grinding, whining, booty popping. You see it in dancehall, in Haitian compa, and New Orleans bounce and twerking. It ain't new, and neither is how it was demonized. Perreo was labeled too vulgar, too sexual, too Black, too ghetto. Sound familiar?
Too loud, too reckless, too ghetto.
It was literally banned or criminalized in places all over Puerto Rico and Cuba, just like jazz, bachata, dancehall, just like Two Live Crew right here in the States with booty bounce music. Now, perreo does exist inside a misogynistic music industry, but in practice, perreo also gives women a lot of autonomy. So when Bad Bunny opens this section with Yo Perreo Sola, an explicitly anti-misogyny, pro-woman song, and all the dancers are women in front of La Casita doing perreo-inspired choreography, that's already setting the tone. Low-key, that feels like a nod to Evie.
And I do like that. I wanted to add that I saw, hey there, hey user, thank you for stopping in. You're my first comment tonight. Besos. Bisous.
Yeah, I guess it goes back to what I said about like there's a sort of balance between self-expression of women versus misogyny, and she's talking about it here.
Well, and also I remember reading, because again, I'm still learning about Bad Bunny. The show just caught me. It totally caught me off guard. I just watched it because I was like, oh, hey, somebody said it was good, and I'm just like, this whole past week it's been so emotional because there's so much stuff going on in my life, in the state, in the country, in the world. I don't know. Just for me, it just seems like a moment in time where, I'm just like trying to take stock and like, where am I in my life? Like, what am I doing? Where am I going? So it was just like a very cathartic time. But they were saying when I was researching it that his music video, which I would love to put on the show one time, we could watch that, where I guess he dresses in drag for this Yo Perreo Sola. And so he dresses in drag and he's dancing alone. And the message is supposed to be like, hey, let women, if they want to do this, let them dance alone, don't harass them. So I was like, okay, that's cool, because that's nice, giving something that can be seen very explicit, and that especially in a macho culture, right? A man could just take advantage of that and be like, oh, okay, well, she just wants to have sex. To be like, well, no, maybe she just actually wants to dance, and move her body that way. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's an invitation for him to, come up and grab her or whatever. So I thought that was cool.
Exactly.
Like I said, even though his lyrics are very explicit, like I was looking at some of the translations that he sang at the Super Bowl, and I was like, oh, interesting, because one of those was something. But I do have to say, I feel like it was like a lot of slang. So maybe to me, I don't know, at least in the translation, it didn't come across as not necessarily offensive. It was just more like creative, because he wasn't like saying like, do this with my penis or something. It was very it was just in coded words, but I think like one of them was like oh gosh, it was something basically like, when this woman sucks me, like it felt good, but it's not the same as your glossy lips, and I was like, interesting. But again, it could be kind of, yeah, it might sound a little vulgar. I don't know. But to me, like you said, I think it can also be, it's a relative thing, it's cultural. I remember years ago, I'll add this one more thing. I don't want to stop too much, but I was reading, I think it was like an Instagram or something. So someone posted something online, but this girl, she was like, hey, I can tell you, I had a French boyfriend, or I've had, French boyfriends or Italian boyfriends, and then I've had American boyfriends. And she said, even when we're having sex, it's different. Like she's like, even if it were just hookups, when I was in Europe, the guys tended to be more, like, oh, they'd be more likely to say like, oh, I love you. I want to be with you forever. I want to hold you. I'm going to just, a lot more passionate with their words, with their bodies, with their expressions, with their gestures. And then, but she said, they might only hang out once or twice, but whereas in America, she said it was more, just a lot, I guess, colder. It could be viewed as, colder, more distant, because the post was basically like, oh my God, how could you let this hookup, or like or this guy you're dating, after only twice having sex, say I love you, or something like that, and she's like, hey, it depends on what like what you've experienced and what you think is okay, depending on your culture. And now it's funny because I'm not European at all, but I think you should be I think good sex should be that way in general. Like, of course, like, even if it's a hookup, like you should feel free to say I love you and say passionate things. It doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be like a long-term commitment thing, but even just something as simple as that, you see how it raises like strong opinions in people, where they're like, that's not okay. How could he tell you that he loved you and you guys were only together a few times? Like, he was lying. And she's like, no, it was just different. It was just different. That's just how they my European men loved me. And I was like, oh,
Nice.
it was so sweet.
Okay, unfortunately, I just saw the time.
It exists for
you gotta leave us. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to duck out here. But
I know you.
But
tomorrow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't see the time go by, honestly, but this was fun.
Oh, thanks, Kevin. Merci. Merci beaucoup. J'espère que tu peux retourner.
Oui, j'aimerais ça. I'd like to come back. J'aimerais ça revenir.
Ok, yeah. J'aimerais bien que tu reviennes. Et merci pour la visite. Et
merci pour m'inviter.
Oh, oui, bien sûr. Sans souci.
Okay.
So basically, I was just thanking Kevin, for coming on and saying we would love to have him back. And yeah, you get some rest because I know you got an early call tomorrow.
For sure. All right.
Au revoir.
Bonne
Salut.
nuit.
Bonne nuit. All right. That's nice to have Kevin. All right, let's keep watching, guys.
Economy and in community. Now we're in the early 2000s, peak Sandungueo and Perreo era. And where are we? At a party that might.
These people are so awesome. Sorry.
Casina. A Marquesina party is like a garage party. It's like
it's good feedback on the show from someone that was watching, but I think he said he has to go. So thank you guys.
kind of outdoor, indoor.
Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. You can even donate.
It's at somebody's crib. That's why you see the guagua, the pickup truck. And that's why you hear artists like Tego Calderon, Don Omar, Daddy Yankee. That's that era.
That's so funny. Yeah, that they have like the Spanish guy. They call him Daddy Yankee. That's cute.
That culture translated straight from Puerto Rico to basement parties in Brooklyn and apartment parties in the Bronx. Same speakers, same grinding, same energy. Everybody dancing together. Men with women, men with men, women with women, grinding, catching a wine.
Yeah, did you see that? That was great. I'm so glad that the camera caught the two guys. That was very beautiful. And you can see like it's just allowing the tolerance for the different, hairstyles. Some people are tattooed, some are pierced, some are not. Different skin shades, because I saw one post where someone was like, there's no white people in that show, but look, like this lady has light colored skin. And that's one thing I appreciate about the Caribbean is that they tend to mix racially a lot more, or skin tone. I definitely would like to see more of that here in the US, even with Bad Bunny. Like I really respect that with him. Like sometimes I'm not used to seeing someone with fair skin like his, like have braids and stuff, but I like that he switches between, like sometimes he just has the curls, which I think is very cute and attractive. It's adorable. But, but still, sometimes he'll have his braids. And so it's just like different styles. And a lot of times I feel like here in the US, it's like, oh, no, you can't do that. That's a Black person style. Or you can't wear that earring that way. That's only Hispanic girls do that. It's like, it doesn't have to be that strict, Like, why are we like that?
Sensual, not always sexual. Sometimes it's just about having a good time with someone who knows how to move. So when conservatives clutch their pearls and perreo or reggaeton gets condemned, we're not surprised. This happens every time Black people dance freely. In the Caribbean, it goes as far back as fete culture and carnival. And now it's on the biggest stage in the world. So all those dancers perreando on stage, that was wow political. After the perreo section, the performance shifts again. The next dance style that we see is salsa. But what matters here is which salsa and when. Because the salsa that you see with Lady Gaga is not the same salsa you see a few minutes later. When Lady Gaga comes out, what you're watching is performance style salsa for stage. The kind you see at social performances, at salsa congresses, in productions. It's upright, polished, lots of arm styling, lifts, lines, passe, double attitudes. A lot of that partnering comes from European partner dance traditions that fed into salsa early on, like Cuban danzón. And a lot of the shapes and the lifts pull straight from ballroom and ballet. Right before this, Bad Bunny says, you wanted this palette?
He's so beautiful. That's my favorite part, I think.
Palatable version. This section is part spectacle, but still very much rooted in salsa antu culture. Then Bad Bunny comes in with.
I like that. Did you guys catch that in the show too, where because I had to look up and like read the translation, the Spanish translation, but where he said that something before they pan over to Lady Gaga, but he was saying like, isn't this what you wanted? And I was like, oh, that's so powerful, because this is just right after he was speaking to us and saying, like, I never stopped believing in myself. That's the only way I was able to be here today. I never stopped. You shouldn't stop either. You're worth more than you know. Believe me, And then he says, okay, well, isn't this what you wanted? And then they pan over. And it's basically, I was laughing. It's like, oh, there's the white lady. It's like the palatable, like she said, it's more of the Europeanized, stylized form of salsa. So it's like, even for those that were a little more uptight, he's like, okay, is this what you wanted?
Baile inolvidable. And the salsa changes. And what you're seeing is what I like to call sala salsa.
And baile inolvidable is, I was looking at those lyrics too. It's just so moving. Beautiful song, but also he's saying like, he's not with this lover anymore, but he's like, wow, I'll never forget, because I first danced with you and you are like, you taught me how to dance, and his music just gets me emotional.
Living room salsa. The salsa you learn en la sala con tu mamá, en la casa de tu abuela, en la cocina de tu bisabuela, at weddings, quinceañeras, navidades, family parties. The salsa everybody knows, whether you ever trained at a studio or not, is grounded, more communal, more Afro, more raw. You're not going forward and back anymore. You're going side to side. So grounding the dance in something that you would actually see at a Puerto Rican wedding is valid. Then Bad Bunny falls off a roof and we land in. And the salsa shifts again. This is New York style mambo on 2, not on 1. We're not on the West Coast. You see some partnering here.
Okay, and then I don't understand that. So you dance people, you're gonna have to help me. But again, isn't this so cool how all of this is just the dance part. We're not even going in depth in the lyrics here. Like, this is amazing how all this relates to activism and asserting your culture. And like, oh, you guys, I so want to do this for Harvey in the Southland. We have to come up with some ways to do that. We can integrate our art more
here, but mostly what we call shines. Shines are solo movement, individual expression. After you break away from your partner, it's how you show who you are, your tumbao, your musicality, your flavor. Shines came out of call and response. In the clubs and on the streets, somebody would step out and call out a shine, and everyone else would repeat it and add their zhush. It's deeply African. These movements are deeply influenced by Afro-Cuban rumba, especially Wawanko, as well as Black American vernacular jazz. That lineage comes out of New York, out of Harlem, where Puerto Ricans, Cubans, and Black Americans were partying together from the early 1900s through the mid-20th century into the 70s, 80s, and even to today. The music was evolving, and with it, the movement. Places like the Palladium weren't just dance halls. They were spaces of real cultural exchange. Eventually, what was happening there got codified by the Mambo King, Eddie Torres. Eddie Torres, who was Puerto Rican, took what was happening socially in community, in the clubs, in the streets, and brought it into the studio. He named the steps, he structured the partnering, he formalized.
Oh my God, did you guys know this? This is so awesome. I had no idea. But again, showing us once again how you can use dance to be subversive, to fight for culture, to be a part of our activism. Beautiful.
Shines, and he codified Mambo on 2. Because salsa dance didn't go global straight from Cuba or Puerto Rico. It went global through New York, through the Puerto Rican diaspora, through people like Eddie Torres. This is an ode to New Yorkers. It connects the island to the diaspora. It connects Afro-Latin movement to Black Atlantic history. What we saw wasn't just dance. It was history, it was memory, it was joy. Joy that was being experienced during.
Yeah, there was so much going on. Like I said, you have to like watch it several times. It's hard to keep up.
During hard times, because when all else fails, we dance. After all of the dance sections, the next movement we see isn't dance at all. It's stunt choreography, aerial, acrobatic movement on electric poles. And this movement isn't about style, culture, or musicality. It's about tension, frustration, resistance. They're pushing away from the structure, hanging, spinning, throwing their arms, yelling, fighting gravity, fighting the object itself. They're not dancing on the electric poles. They're fighting them. This section happens during El Apagón, a song that is...
Yes, you guys, so powerful. Literally, I should show you. Yeah, maybe I'll bring the camera right now. So he's singing about, you know, the because of the greed of the capitalists and the rich people, and you know, they don't fix the power network, right? For the everyday people. The power in Puerto Rico is meant for the rich touristy places. Well, even here in Harvey, I swear to God, I bet you the stretch of my street our street lights are out. I'm going to show you. Give me a second. I'm going to show you 1 second. You know, we are so lucky. It has been so beautifully warm. My heat just came on. It's barely been on all day today, you guys. I told you, I was like, how much you want to bet? Look at this. So talk about a lesson in understanding understanding how art through dance, you know, and lyrics can express our activism, our frustrations, how we want things to change. This whole stretch of our main street, 154th here in Harvey, we have our streetlights are out again tonight. Streetlights are out again. It's so, like I said, you would not even know that that's the main street. The only reason that is lit over there is because that's the hospital. But I mean, these are real issues. I mean, I guess it's nice in that you can kind of see the stars. Well, you can't see it on camera, but I mean, these are real problems. You know, when we're involved in activism, it's because we're trying to change things, right? We're trying to bring about change in society. To change things because we feel that they're, you know, people aren't being treated right. I can't stand bullies, right? So just to kind of, you know, bring that all together.
It's literally about power outages, infrastructure failure, and neglect on the island, and people living without electricity and dying because systems failed them. A direct result of colonization and U.S. outsourcing to companies that do not give a fuck about Puerto Rico. The movement becomes a physical metaphor.
Excuse me. Now, unfortunately, in this case, our streetlights in Harvey that are out are because our politicians, they are publicly owned, but they just don't care. They steal the money and they haven't fixed it. But in Puerto Rico's case, they actually gave control of the power to a private company. That's the worst thing you can do.
For anger and survival, and a very clear fuck you to Luma and the privatized power grid that has fed Puerto Rico over and over and over again. And what's important is where this moment sits in the show. Right before this, we've just gone through joy, perreo, community,
right.
Sala Salsa, Nueva York. Then Ricky Martin sings Lo que pasó a Hawaii, which drops us straight into conversations about colonization, land theft, and exploitation, taxation without representation. The performers are dressed as jibaros, the same way that they were dressed at the very beginning, in white, wearing pavas, referencing the countryside, the poor, the people who are always hit first and hardest when systems collapse. This is the last choreographed section of the show, and it feels like an apex before release. Because after this, everything opens up. Everyone floods the fields. They're running, laughing, waving flags from across Latin America and the Caribbean.
I love remember how like up here, even that like everybody's just jumping. Like that's a huge ass dance.
It brings everything full circle. From sugarcane fields to colonization, to migration, to power failures, to shared humanity in the diaspora fighting against ICE. The movement created by these 6 choreographers and hundreds of dancers told a story where joy becomes resistance. No matter what, we survive, we remember, we move, and we keep dancing. So shout out to everyone involved, especially the dancers, because this wasn't dancing for dance's sake, and low-key, y'all was eating. This was history, memory, protest, a reminder that dance is political. It always has been, and it always will be.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, you know that ending kills me every time, you guys. Well, that's wonderful. So again, if you can show some support to this young lady, I already left her a nice comment, but this is her channel, Melany Centeno. I put it in the about or the more additional information. That was good. Again, super beautiful, moving. Loved it. So yeah, we gotta figure out some ways that we can bring this sort of art into our activism work here, you guys. We can do it. That's about everything I have tonight. Well, maybe before we go, I'll show you one more thing that I found that I thought was cute. Just to show, like I said, he's not perfect. I'm not saying that, but I thought this was adorable. After the Super Bowl, apparently, Benito, he, in Palo Alto, he rented out this restaurant called Macarena for for after the Super Bowl, and they kind of did it as a surprise to the staff too, because they didn't want it to leak and so they closed it off. And they said, what I thought was nice though is that it said, apart from arriving with a security team, Ocasio's arrival was surprisingly normal and low profile. Obviously, when you receive the call, you have certain expectations, but they were a kind, gracious, humble group of people. They were all just having fun, enjoying. It could have been a normal family coming to the restaurant, buying it out. So that is nice. Sounds like they had a really lovely meal. And they even danced to reggaeton and salsa music. But I thought that was cool. They said that he seemed laid back after his performance. And then they were, as a courtesy to him, I guess they didn't even share that he was there until today, a week later. And then when the night came to a close, Ocasio took the time, that's Bad Bunny, Benito, took the time to shake hands with each member of Macarena's staff. He was very appreciative. He really wanted us to know that he had the greatest time and that the food was delicious. So that's so sweet. Let's see, they just opened under a year ago, so that's a huge boost for a new restaurant for sure. We still don't believe it, she said. But yeah, I wanted to share that too because I thought that was cute and significant and adorable and all that good stuff. His stuff that just all kills me. It's beautiful. Yeah, that's it for tonight. You know what? We'll do I think we're gonna do some more Bad Bunny stuff. Not because I'm worshiping him or anything. It's not like he's God, but I want to use that as we say in French, as a point de départ, as a departure point, as an inspiration for our activism work. And I hope this encouraged you and edified you, and we will talk tomorrow, guys. Au revoir. Oh, and if you want to catch me on TikTok, I will there might be a little bit of a delay, but I will be on TikTok live, same screen name, Ryan's Chicago, shortly. And feel free to come and say hi there. It's always a lot more chill on TikTok. It's kind of random. See you. Au revoir. Bonne nuit. What do they say? No, they say buenas noches when you're going to bed in Spanish. I don't know. One of my Spanish speakers got to help me. Bonne nuit.